Welcome along to the latest edition of the David Power Jockeys Cup. I'm delighted to be joined by Brian Hughes, champion conditional, 3 times champion jockey, and nearly 1900 winners when I was doing my research last night. Brian, obviously the first point we need to start with, we were going to record this earlier in the week, but it was wrong to do so. Like all of us, we've been rocked to the core with the news of Michael O'Sullivan, and thoughts very much with his mum and dad, William Burney, his partner Charlotte, brother Alan, and all his immediate family. Just tragic.
Yeah, horrific, Niall. I mean, it is a dangerous game, but you never sort of believe them things are possibly going to ever happen. Obviously, I didn't know Michael very well, just to say hello to and one thing and another, but talented lad in the saddle, but an absolute gentleman out of the saddle. And when you're reading through all the people, what they're saying, that's the common thing, what a nice person he was. And it's just tragic. I mean, we're all obviously aware when Kieran Kelly and Sean Cleary and so on, people that got lost their lives. But it's just, yeah, obviously John Thomas McNamara, but it never gets any easier. But obviously thoughts and prayers with his family and his friends, because they're at a huge loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And his father, William, he's not man of many words, but how he got up and spoke at the funeral the other day for 10 minutes. And just quality,
Yeah,
incredible.
really.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we all have children, and the thought of losing one of them is just doesn't bear thinking about. Yeah, what a man! What strength he must have to get up and do that.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
I laid my dad to rest last Christmas. And the thought of getting up to speak during it, just like, and that was my father who lived a good life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
But
Yeah,
just a better person than me. End of story. But
just
the thoughts will continue with the family.
yeah, absolutely, just exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's something stupid, but I bought an old horse for my wife to train as a pointer off Eugene O'Sullivan, and I was actually riding him out on Sunday morning when I was reading the text, and Michael had won 3 or 4 races on the old horse, and it hit us then. I thought, God, like what a loss to racing, but to obviously to the whole, everyone,
Yeah, and
to lose such a talent.
And the O'Sullivan family are steeped in point-to-point steeped in national hunt racing. Jack the Bromhead, obviously the Bromhead family, and 14 years ago, Jack Tyner. So they're families who know the risks. It doesn't make it any easier, and thoughts very much with them all.
Yeah, look, obviously, it'll have hit home for the Bromhead family and the Tyner family and the McNamara. People they've been brought up around horses all their lives, and you just don't ever want to believe that stuff like that is possible. Obviously, we're all aware of the dangers, but you always hope that a few broken bones later you'll be fine or whatever. But yeah, look, obviously when things like that happen, I mean, I'm sure it's rocked racing as a whole, but them families especially, I'd say they really felt it.
Absolutely.
Because they know what the pain is like. Obviously we can all surmise that, because, when time passes by, as you say, 14 years ago since Jack Tyner. And it doesn't seem like 14 years ago, but time passes by. But them families, they'll feel that every second of every day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How hard is it for jockeys to continue? I know you've got to put it in the, you understand the risks. Is it 1 in 10, 1 in 15 horses you get a fall off? But how hard's it been this week?
Yeah, it's been difficult because, look, obviously, I mean, you're not going out thinking, oh, I'm going to get injured or I'm going to get a fall or, worse. You just look, I mean, like, obviously, when you're younger, you don't really understand. But when you've got, I'm nearly 40, so like I've got smaller children and thinking, if they were to grow up without the father or, the mother or whatever, it sort of, it makes you think like, it is a dangerous game, and, you just don't ever want to believe something like that would happen. I mean, obviously, yes, you're right. You have to put it to the back of your mind because you are an ex-jockey. You can't go, you can't go around with a slightest bit of doubt in your mind because then things will go wrong. But, yeah, as you say, we're all aware of the risks, but you always just hope and pray that, nothing like that bad happens to you or someone you know.
Yeah. You just said you're near 40. I didn't want to bring it up. Full set of black hair still, but what is it? 2002 you rode your first winner in the flat, wasn't it?
Yeah, at your home track,
Was
Downpatrick.
that your first winner? Oh,
Yeah,
couldn't have been any better.
my first. I know, one of the only tracks in Ireland I've ridden a flat winner, a hurdle winner, and a chase winner
Right?
on.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I rode my first winner on my 8th or 9th ride in Downpatrick on a filly called Perugino Lady. And funnily enough, Pat Cosgrove, who was an apprentice before me in Kevin's, he rode his first winner. He's from Banbridge. He rode his first winner on the same filly.
Right. Right.
She was actually the first racehorse I ever sat on. And she ran away with me on the round gallop around Kevin Prendergast's. But yeah,
And if you haven't
a
done
long
it,
time ago now.
you won't do it now because there's no flat racing in Downpatrick.
No, yeah, well, I mean, it was largely apprentice
Yeah.
races. It's crazy, like for the layout of the course, it was like restricted for like £10 claimer apprentice races, which seems crazy. But yeah, we used to hurtle around there and on a Friday evening in apprentice races or whenever it was. Yeah,
Did you think you were going to be a flat jockey then? Is that all you were interested in?
yeah. I mean, obviously, done a lot of hunting as a child, and you go to the race centre. I went to race the day Galileo won the Irish Derby. So how old I am. And then of course you're surrounded by flat racing, and then you go into the weigh room and you see like Mick Kinnan and Pat Smullen and Johnny Murta, all them, and you think, oh yeah, I'd love to be a flat jockey, but the reality was I wasn't good enough. Now I wasn't light enough, wasn't good enough. Rode a few winners. But my weight always held me back. I was heavy, but I'd really diet, and as a result of that, I was really weak.
Well,
So you were trying to do a lightweight because you thought, but then you didn't understand that you weren't actually strong enough to give the horse a proper ride. So, Kevin Prendergast always thought I would be a jump jockey.
yeah, because you're not that tall. Like in our
No,
thing, that Danny Tudhope, Paul Morin are probably
yeah,
a bit taller than you.
they are. Danny Tudhope is, yeah. Paul probably, I'm just probably a bit thicker set than
Yeah.
them, but I mean, if I had the ability to be a flat jockey, I probably could do the 9 stones and be if I was as as strict diet as Paul or Danny. I think out of lockdown, I was nearly the same weight as Danny.
Yeah.
When we were riding out, he is a big fella, but he's a talented lad, so he manages to keep his weight down. Um, but yeah, I think I just didn't have the ability to ride on the flat, and that's the truth of it, really.
And then you, I don't say bumbled around, but you didn't really get going properly. Did you rode for James Lamb at Down Royal? Wasn't your first ride over hurdles? And then you were
Yeah.
kind of a crossroads, weren't you?
So obviously Kevin always realised that I would be a jump jockey, even though I was light enough at the time to do light weights. He looked at me and thought, when I fill out, I'm going to be a heavy lad. And actually, I used to do a bit of schooling. I used to ride Perugino Lady around because she was a dual purpose horse. Kevin had 4 or 5 jumpers at the time, and they were okay. Like, go to, we'd been at Leopardstown at Christmas, and the late Kieran Kelly used to ride out them or come in school them, and I'd give them a lead. There's like an eight flights of hurdles in a circle around the round gallop on the Curragh, around the sand, the outside of the sand, and I would lead the boys round. And Stephen John Crane would have been there as well. He was a £7 claimer, and Gareth Cotter was another one. And so I'd sort of started schooling, but obviously on a weekend, because James Lamb is my local trainer at home. When I'd come home from the racing school, I'd go right out for James, and he'd have me schooling loads of horses. We got great experience there, and then he actually gave me my first ride over hurdles on Boxing Day at Downroyal,
Right.
on a horse called Bowley's Pride.
Right. And then how did England come about?
Struggled away on the flat, riding out winner here, a couple of rides there, and then I was obviously moved away from home at 15. Was starting to get a bit disillusioned because I was struggling with the weight, struggling to keep getting rides or good rides. like Kevin gave me what he could, but he had a lot of apprentices, and then it came to the end of the. It was actually halfway through the season. Um, Kevin O'Ryan, who was my agent, managed to get me on a ride for Jim Bulger at Gorham Park on a Sunday, and had a light weight, and I think I starved myself for 3 days, never had or drank a thing, and went and won on this filly. And Howard Johnson happened to see it, and obviously with the link I have with Kevin O'Ryan and Mouse O'Ryan, I used to ride the yearlings away for Bobby in the winter time because there was no racing in Ireland in the winter. After I'd ride out for Kevin, so just by luck, I'd ridden all the Graham and Andrea Wiley had bought a load of yearlings, and I'd when were broken in, I'd rode them all away. So obviously that was the link. Howard happened to see me ride the winner, and he must have been speaking to Bobby, and he says, "Oh, that lad rode your yearlings away." Anyway, fast forward a couple of months, and Bobby said, I must have been speaking to Bobby and said, "I'm getting sick of riding on the flat. I can't do the weights, and you know, struggling." And he said, "Why don't you try your hand at jumping, and I'll get you a job at Howard Johnson." So um, that was, yeah, started at Howard's on the 1st of October 2005.
And you were fairly quick when you rode Weatherby Bob Justice, was it? No.
I had a couple, yeah, within a couple of weeks, I had a few rides. The first ride was at Sedgefield in a bumper on a horse called Silver Dollars, and he hit me a headbutt at the start and bust my nose, so I went round with blood all over my face, and that was the introduction. But yeah, my first winner was on a filly called Renata in a 3-year-old hurdle the same day as the fighting fifth, so I'd had a winner quite quickly. She was a 3-year-old filly, first time over hurdles, and she's turned out to be a good old broodmare. Actually, she's bred Brunswick Royal, Nutswell, and them
Right.
sort of
Right.
horses. So, and then yeah, I rode Bob's Justice, Albany. My first 6 months, I was quite fortunate because obviously Graham Lee would have been stable jockey at the time, and there was like Ingles Drever,
Phillies.
Callis, No Refuge. I mean, the talent Royal Rosa. There was all these horses, and obviously Graham would go down to Newbury or Cheltenham on the weekend, and there'd be a couple of rides going up here. Myself and Alan Dempsey would sort of ridden them, and yeah, I was lucky that obviously claimed off is a horse like Bob Justice, Albany, Supreme Leisure, all them sort of out horses, and I
Mm.
managed to get a couple of winners on them.
Mm.
So sort of got me rolling away. I think in my first 6 months, I rode 11 winners over hurdles, which I'd never ridden 11 winners in a season in my
Yeah,
life. It
yeah,
was like 6, 7, 8 winners was the max,
yeah.
you know.
And then fast forward 2008, wasn't it? Champion Conditional.
Yeah, it was funny. Then obviously Graham went to Ferdy's, and Paddy came up here, Paddy Brennan, and I struggled like crazy then because obviously, you know, Paddy rode the majority, so I think I rode 3 winners the next year, and I was getting sick of it, to be honest.
Were
And
you close to packing in at any
um,
time?
I was, yeah, I nearly went home. Um, Struggling. I bought a house, struggling to pay the bills, and I I actually had a job with Nigel Twiston Davis. Went down and rode out, and was meant to start there in the July. Fergal O'Brien was his head lad, and obviously I'd left Howard's. And I was obviously living up here, and I was just riding out for a few different people. And Howard Johnson's wife's father, Ray Hawkey,
Yeah,
the
nice one.
late Ray Hawkey, lovely fella, lovely man. Him and his wife used to like looked after me like a son, really. And Ray got me a ride for John Wade one evening meeting at Sedgefield, a horse called Polar Gale, and he won. And then got a couple more rides for John. I think that at a double that night, I rode a winner for Bob Woodhouse, sorry, on a horse called Ticketeel. And then I just started getting rolling that 2007, 2008 season. And by the end of the summer, I'd ridden 10 winners, and I was just starting to get going, and sort of thought, I had the ball rolling. I didn't really want to leave and go down south and having to, restart everything all over again. So I stayed up north, started riding up for Alan Swinbank, and he held my license. And yeah, that season I was champion conditional. I rode 39 winners, so that was sort of the start of it, really. And then from then on, I've just tried to progress every season and ride out for anyone and everyone, ride
Yeah.
for anyone. And just, yeah, I think the next season I rode 50 winners and just kept trying to creep it up and up, yeah.
And then from 15, you rode 100 winners every season since, haven't you? Welcome up.
Yeah, well, yeah, different jobs, obviously. Started riding for Malcolm Jefferson by pure accident. Got a spare ride on a horse called Makeda, and he won a novice chase. And I started riding a few for Malcolm, and then the next season I rode the majority of them and I think I rode 86 winners, and then the following season I rode 100 winners. And then I was lucky enough that I've maintained that since then. I don't know, I think it's about 10 seasons or
Yeah.
11 seasons, I think. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
It's some going. And then COVID came. That was your first season being champion.
Yeah, so obviously I was knocking on the door, knocking on the door for a season or two. Would struggle in the summer to keep up with Dickie at the time. Obviously, when AP retired, Dickie was champion, and then sort of struggled to keep up with him. But then I would make inroads in him in the winter, and then the COVID year, managed to sort of stay within touching distance of Dickie all through the summer, and we were neck and neck. And then I think he broke his arm or wrist or something at Exeter one day, and then I obviously got a lead on him of 20 winners, and then Dickie got back, and obviously we just kept sort of tipping away. Obviously, I managed to keep the gap at 20, and then COVID came, and nobody knew what was happening. Obviously, racing was stopped, and yeah, so what we stopped in was just after Cheltenham, wasn't it?
It
Before
was on the
Aintree, wasn't it?
17th of March it stopped. I remember Wellerbin
Yeah.
was on the 17th of March, and
That was
during
my
the day.
last, right? I remember,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember going to Weatherby and all these texts come through. Well done, you'll be champion jockey. I'm thinking, what's this all about? Anyway, then it was confirmed I would be champion jockey, and it wasn't until then the following, like after COVID, that I actually got the trophy presented to us. But then it was a bit like everyone, you think it didn't feel real because I didn't sort of see it out to the end of the season.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, kicked on the next year and tried to be champion again, and I had a good lead at one point, and then Harry Skelton got rolling and after Christmas, and then it was a bit of a battle, and I actually got beaten, and Harry beat me by I think 10 winners.
Yeah.
That was pretty tough to take now.
Yeah. And then 2022 you got it back.
Yeah, literally I sort of sat and I thought, right, I can sulk and I can wallow in self-pity, or I can kick on and put my head down and work even harder. So I literally, there wasn't a race I didn't ride in that I took every ride. I never turned anything down, just rode everything. My agent was brilliant. Donald's horses were just in serious form. I mean, honestly, there was horses winning 2 and 3 races that like you thought were no good.
Yeah.
Everything just clicked, yeah, and I managed to ride 204 winners, and I think there was either 199 winners to the second person. So like I literally,
Yeah.
I think Sammy was second with 105, I think it was.
So Peter Skidmore,
So
Tony McCoy, Richard Johnson, yourself, the only people to drive
yeah,
200. Some going, isn't it?
2, unreal. And the way it happened, I mean, I rode my 100 winner on a little horse called Dreams of Home at Ayr. I think it was October, and then I rode 150. I think you were there at Carlisle, on a horse called Maximilian.
Yeah.
In a bumper for Donald, and then my agent said Richard was there that day, and he said to the press in jest, "Oh, we're going to go for the 200," and it just seemed like crazy. But then, sort of towards the end of the season, yeah, literally 3 days before the end, I think I'd been to Fakenham on the Monday, Sedgefield on the Tuesday, and then went to Perth. And funnily enough, Dreams of Home was the 200 winner as well.
Right.
And it was good because the AP was there. Peter Scudamore was there at the track, so it was it was quite fitting.
Did that mean way more? Because what happened during COVID, you don't fluke Jockeys Championship, even if it did stop a month earlier or whatever.
Yeah,
But did it mean way more to say, look, I've done
yeah,
200 as
yeah,
well?
yeah. It did. It was something that I look back. I remember it was exhausting. I mean, I remember that when it happened, I actually just sat. Everyone was going out in Perth on the night, and I just sat in the hotel on my own, just sitting, just like staring into space, basically thinking, like, did that really happen? I was literally just exhausted. Um, but yeah, it was brilliant because then obviously got to go to Sandown, got to really enjoy it.
Mm.
A busload from Yorkshire. All my family came from, like, obviously I have sisters all around the world, and they all came, so that was great. And Sandown were fantastic. They gave us a box for all my family, and yeah, it was a good old day out. And you look back and think, geez, I should have. Not that I didn't appreciate it, it's the wrong word, but you sort of take them things for granted at the time because you're sort of, as a jockey, you're focused on tomorrow, the next day, the next
Yeah.
season, the next, and and you just realize how hard it is to achieve
And then,
because you need so many things to go
yeah,
right. Like your horses, your yard have to be, in form, and you know yourself,
a,
you've
a,
had jockeys
a,
in them situations,
and a broken
you
collarbone
know.
here or there, do something trivial. That
Yeah, I mean, but like them things, and then you've abandonments and stuff, and it just
the weather was on
you
your
need a
side.
lot
Yeah.
of, yeah, everything. And honestly, I had a good clear run with injuries and no suspensions, and you know, and then no abandonment. So then you didn't mean like if there was two horses for the one race, one could go there. They weren't like
Mm.
stacking up on each other, and you weren't like having to ride one and missing the winner on another one. So just everything clicked. It was just, yeah,
And then you done it in
a bit weird.
2023 again.
Yeah, did it again in 2023. Didn't ride the same amount of winners. The horses just started to just sort of peter out at the end of the season. I think I rode 165 winners. Um, and yeah, then I got beaten at the year after, and I'm getting beaten this year. But
Yeah. But still,
it's the way.
if you retired today, like 1900 winners, 3 times champion jockey, breaking the 200 barrier, unbelievable career. Considering like you were nearly
Yeah,
going to pack in at one point. Unbelievable.
yeah, I just, I've struggled riding big winners because I just haven't had the opportunity to get
Yeah.
on
But
a
you get Paul Tarnend, who obviously rides Willies. You'll have um,
Nico.
Jack Kennedy or Sam Ewan this year, whoever.
Mm,
You'll have Nico with a few quality rides, but like Cheltenham's
mm.
a hard place to get. And I said to a couple of jockeys on the David Power Jockeys Cup last couple, it's a horrible place to be riding when you're no business being there. You won Hawkeye at a big price in the third winter. Ballyalton, Mr. Whittaker, all successful at the festival. But it's not a pretty place to be riding when you're riding 25 to
No,
1 shots.
you're right. I've got a lot of stick over the years for doing it because, as you say, like you're going around there on horses that are there for, a day out,
Yeah,
or they're getting in, they're scraping in, and
they're in
realistically, they're
fifth
not
gear.
competitive. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, they're in top cog from the get go. I remember riding in the Coral Cup one day, and we jumped the first two, and I never seen the hurdle, and neither did the horse. He galloped clean through the middle of it.
flat out.
It was such flat out. He was struggling to keep up, and like such a tight, and it was just a horrible
Mm.
experience. I was thinking, and then you're getting to the top of the hill, and the good ones are leaving you behind, and it's don't get me wrong, I'd love to be going there with fancied rides, but when you're going there and thinking,
Yeah.
God, it's you're making up the numbers. It doesn't really float my boat now, to be
Mm.
honest.
You rode the Gold Cup a couple of times. Tidal Bay, good old Tidal Bay. You rode him finished sixth. Real steal for Willie Mullins. He looked like he was going to have a big say turn, and he just didn't quite stay.
Yeah, rode Tidal Bay, that season I rode for Graham and Andrea, and he ran okay. He ran like second in the Betfair chase, and had won a Cleve Hurling on the year before, and he was second in a Cotswold chase to McCoy rode it, the grey horse that won the national of Mr. Hales's
Neptune Cologne.
Neptune Challenge, and he'd sort of get left behind, and then he'd finish off. And then yeah, got a ride for Willie Mullins. Noel Feely rang us on the
Yeah,
Wednesday and asked, "Oh, what you riding in the Gold Cup?" I thought he was ringing just to get tickets
yeah.
for someone because I think he must have thought, "Oh, Northern Monkey coming down south. He won't bring in anyone with him. I'll get his tickets." And no, I said, "Oh, he's obviously had looked after Jared Sullivan's interests, and they said, "Oh, you can ride this," and oh, brilliant.
He just
And
didn't
we're
stay,
going
did
just
he?
follow.
Because the third name I was
No,
getting excited for you.
well, I was floating away around behind him, and next minute I jumped up beside Aidan Coleman, third last, and he says, "You're running away. You're going to win." I went, "What?" And next minute,
Empty.
just travelled to the second last, and I remember thinking, "Oh, I'm not. Someone like me is never going to win a Gold Cup." And I jumped to second last, and I said, "Yeah, I'm dead right. Someone like me isn't going to win the Gold Cup." He just didn't quite
Mhm.
see it out, but sure, look, he was a big price, and obviously, I think the stable really won with the other horse,
Yeah,
Alboom
yeah,
Photo,
it
wasn't it?
was, yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
I suppose it's nice to ride in them races, I
and
suppose.
hopefully, touch wood, all been well, you'll be riding it this year. The real whacker obviously won the RSA a couple of years ago. You won the Charlie Hall on him this year. At least he's got track form.
Yeah, I'll ride him in it this year. Obviously, he's a big price, but in his own right, he's a decent
Yeah.
animal. Obviously, as you say, I won the Charlie Hall on him. He has won the RSA in the past, and he's run a couple of times and won around Cheltenham.
Mm.
So
He's in the national as
obviously,
well.
the
It's 2.5 weeks
I think
apart. It's 2.5 weeks apart, but I think the plan's a Gold Cup. But like, I always thought he'd be a good ride in the national. Off a nice race and win.
possibly, but I think as far as I'm aware, the Gold Cup is the
Plan, yeah,
plan.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, who knows about the national? I suppose you'd have to sort of wait and see how he comes out of the Gold Cup if he gets there in one
Yeah.
piece. But yeah, look, it's nice to be associated with a horse that's
Good enough.
capable of running in the race. Yeah,
Yeah. Who's going to win the David Power Jockeys Cup? You're not. Harry Skelton, 282.
I'm not.
No, you're way off. Harry Compton, 252. Sam Twiston Davis, 226. Harry's got a fair lead now, hasn't he? I was thinking a few weeks ago, Nico de Boinville, 206, but he's what? He's got a bit of work on now. I think it's Harry, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd have thought so. It looks. I mean, obviously he wouldn't swap his position for anything, but I suppose like Cheltenham will be a big thing. Cheltenham will be the big one
Yeah,
really. Who like Nico will have a few fancy rides, and you've often seen like them big festivals, the bigger yards. Like when you see like Willie Mullins and Gordon fighting for championships in
yeah.
Ireland, and then it comes to Punchestown and the clean up. So Nico would have a few fancy rides. I'm sure Harry will as well. But if I was Harry Skelton, I'd be rather be in his position than anybody
Because
else's.
he's going to have Grey Donnan in your backyard, Kelso, next week
Yeah, Grey
before he
Dawn,
goes
and then
there.
he'll have Protectorat and Ryanair, and he'll
I'll
have
have a squad for handicaps. Yeah, they have load.
yeah, they will, yeah, they will.
Yeah.
They might not have is it Langerdan?
Yeah. And the
He'll
stairs.
he'll have to go
Stairs,
the
is it?
stairs. Yeah, he won't be trying to. Well, I'm not unless they change their mind. I think I read something that he's going for that, but I'm sure Dan and Harry will have plenty for them big races, and that's the beauty when Harry's riding for his brother.
Mm.
His brother want him to win
Mm.
the 500,000 just as much as anyone, so
Um,
they'll be targeting all them races.
you say about near 40. I don't like talking about this, but how much more? You still get the drive, still get the hunger. Nearly 1900
Look,
winners. So
yeah, I haven't thought about retiring. I don't think I'm doing the job too badly still, so still enjoy it, still feel well myself. I was anyone that's ever retired before me has always said ride for as long as you can because then you're going to have to start to work for a living.
mm,
But no, I enjoy it. I say I still feel I'm doing it well enough, so I'll keep going for a couple of seasons yet.
good. It's been a
I'm lucky that I've no weight
yeah.
problems and stuff like that. And touch wood, I've been lucky with injuries and stuff like that. Obviously, friends of ours have had to retire through injuries and their fate's made for them. But please God, I'll stay in one
Mm,
piece, and sure, you never know.
yeah. It's been great to catch up. You're an absolute credit to your profession. What you've achieved, running through it with you, it's absolutely amazing. I wish you to stay healthy in the main point and keep riding them winners and hopefully close in the 2000. Good to catch up, Brian.
Thanks, Niall. Pleasure. Thank you.